Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rains on the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rains on the.
I'm gonna redirect this, Scott. Stardom's got a new president, and he visited big business this week. Tell me a little bit about what's going on from the Stardom side of things.
Well, it's happening. The conversations for the past couple of years surrounding Forbidden Door, you know, no Stardom talent on these shows, no Stardom talent on these shows. It's coming now. And I think a lot has gone into this happening. I know a lot of people want to look at one thing and one thing only that happened at the beginning of February, which was Rossy Ogawa getting, you know, let go from the company, but there's a lot that has been put into motion to make this happen. But I want to bring up that it is not a coincidence that this is happening the night Mercedes Moné is debuting in this company. Like, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, all right, well, this is not a coincidence. This is not how coincidences happen, you know, like, she is someone who has been very clear she wants to wrestle the best. And she went to Japan to do that. Something that not really anyone, especially of her star power, has been willing to do. We haven't seen that. What's the biggest men's star we've seen do that? Dolph Ziggler? Oh, John Moxley, that's right. That's very fair. I forgot he did the G1, and that was great. Okay, besides so it's John Moxley and
it's just him.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? And I think that says it all. Like, this is a big thing. And in terms of women's wrestling, New Japan, at least when Moxley went there, was still pretty popular, I'd say. Mm-hmm. You know, like 2019 was still their hot phase. Stardom's very popular in Japan, and it's popular amongst, like, very, you know, compared to New Japan when Moxley went, very small. Very small. But she went there and she wrestled on their shows and she did all that, right? And she was going to do more, but, you know, she got hurt. That meant there was, like, so much untapped potential, and this was inevitably going to happen. Stardom and AEW. I've said it. I continue to say it. Last year didn't work out. The year before that didn't work out. Last year was the first year I think we had a real chance of it happening, but they had a pay-per-view booked on that same day. And I've seen people say, well, why didn't they send someone? Because they booked people for their pay-per-view in Japan
that they had to sell.
That they had to sell, that was already booked, right? Like, that is the big thing. And now it makes all the sense. You know, the original president, who Harada, who, you know, Dave wrote a lot about in multiple, he did it in the newsletter and then a separate post when Rossy was let go. He's gone, and he was a big reason for a lot of problems. Like, no matter what we want to talk about with Rossy, he was a big reason for a lot of problems. And this new guy, Taro Okada, seems more connected. He works for both New Japan and Stardom. I don't know how many people know that. He's actually on the new Stardom, the new New Japan board as well. He's one of the people under Tanahashi, I believe. So there is actual synergy there for the first time ever. And I don't know if people know that. But it's finally happening. It's exciting. You know, it should be exciting to a lot of people. I know a lot of AEW fans are like, oh man, you know, Joshi fans are going to hate this. And, you know, there are going to be some that hate this. Just like there's, you know, AEW, you know, the New Japan fans hated when AEW started work. That's just natural. But it was always going to happen, and now it is.
My question to you though is like, is it too little, too late? Like, I know Rossi's gone, and like I know there's going to be talent that's loyal to him. I think Julie has already said that she goes where
Yeah.
he goes. Like, is this too little, too late for it to make a difference?
I'm going to say yes and no.
Go ahead.
And there's a reason for this. Yes, because it should have already happened. It should have happened at the last Forbidden Door. It should have happened when Julia was signed to this company, because ultimately the reality is she was the biggest star, right? She was the one that made the most sense to appear on AEW television. And we've heard the rumors through the past couple months that Tony Khan's not all that interested in her, AEW is not interested in her, so on and so forth. Whatever. But the reason I'm going to say no is because Forbidden Door is going to need Stardom. Now, like New Japan doesn't have Okada. New Japan doesn't have Ospreay. New Japan's top star right now isn't all that interested in working the U.S. all that much. Tetsuya Naito's not clamoring to come to the U.S. And after that, who are you excited to see in New Japan?
Oh, nobody actually.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. So if you're gonna keep running Forbidden Door, you need more involvement. There you go. I think that does it all right there. I'd probably say Shingo, truthfully, because
I love Shingo. Yeah,
he's never done anything at the Forbidden Doors, but like that's my point. There's no natural answer. So Forbidden Door needs Stardom. Forbidden Door needs CMLL. Forbidden Door needs all this involvement on this one show to try and recapture the importance, and ultimately the Forbidden Door show should be the biggest interpromotional show in professional wrestling. That's how I've always felt about it. So that's why I say no. The reason I say yes is because I think the peak of excitement for a Stardom AEW connection was probably last year.
So I guess this year, looking at Forbidden Door, who is the biggest foreign star on that show? Is it Mystico at this point?
Oh yeah, it has to be,
right? Have to be.
Yeah, it's Mystico or Naito.
Yeah,
and that's assuming Naito's on it.
Maybe, it depends. I mean, who knows? Let's be honest. I got tickets in a couple weeks. I think there's a more than good chance that Naito is not the IWGP champion. I think there's a legit chance that Jon Moxley wins the IWGP title in Chicago.
Based on his involvement in AEW right now, I wouldn't be shocked.
That's kind of
the least we've seen.
It's kind of why I'm thinking that. Like, Moxley has never been like less involved in the day-to-day right now, and it feels like a bucket list thing that he could check off, and it feels like the New Japan product is super cold right now. It really is.
All that's hot is Naito.
That's
it.
So like, if you were to get I think a Gaijin champion could actually help do something right now. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I think there's more than a decent possibility, because if you take the title off of Naito and the Chicago show, you could build a rematch for the Door. Like, you could. Like, so I do think there's a decent chance, that Mox is the IWGP World Champion down the line. So I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's time right now where I feel like I don't kind of know where New Japan is going with anything, and a lot of it is because I'm just, honest to God, not interested in a lot of things. Like, aren't we in the middle of the New Japan Cup right now, and I don't hear anybody talking about it?
Yeah, because there's just so little interest, if any. It's like there's none. I think you have a very good idea. I think Moxley taking it for a short run and losing it back at Dominion is a win-win. Because obviously Naito is the biggest star in Japan. I'm not gonna say New Japan. He's the biggest star in Japan. And he's been that for years. But him overcoming the invading guy who's never, like, Moxley has been pinned like once in New Japan. Like, that's big. And if he's willing to go there, have maybe one defense between now, and he could defend at Dominion, because I think Dominion's before Forbidden Door, if my math is checking off. It is, because it's the 9th usually. And then he goes to Forbidden Door and you can defend it against Naito. That means you have a big main event for that show that people will be willing to see, because the last time people saw it, Jon Moxley took the title. I think it's a great idea, and I like your idea. And
Well,
it's
thank
something
you.
that at least makes some interest in New Japan when they really need it.
Well, actually, and the Chicago show it's moving tickets in Chicago.
true.
Like there are tickets being sold. There is interest in this show, much bigger than a typical New Japan in America show. Here's how I know my idea is good. John Muse has just sent the message that I've been on the IWGP title win for Mox since the announcement of Naito versus Moxley. If John Muse says it, I know it's a good one. He also says you could retain the Dominion and then defend at the door. Yeah. I think that's there too. I also think the Naito character tends to work better when he's got a little bit of his chip on his shoulder, when he's like the underdog who's constantly being screwed over by the man. That's what made Naito work, is when Okada was the golden boy and Naito was just kind of like the other guy, kind of, you know, like he has the leisure suit, but he's kind of grubby, you know, but there's just something like kind of dirty and lovable about Naito. Like he's just like, he's really the man of the people type of character. And I think that kind of a character can only work on top for so long without needing a little refresh or something to overcome. Like we talk about that hero struggle, right? The hero journey. Need to overcome something like, you know, an invading gaijin who's stolen your title. It would be a good one. And it's been a while since we've had a true outsider with the IWGP title. Like even, look back on the gaijin that have had it, Kenny and AJ and Ospreay. Those were all New Japan, like full-time guys. I mean, it's been a while since somebody from the outside has won that title. And they've always done, like, that's an old school New Japan storyline of someone from the outside taking the title. Like I look back on like Angle or Lesnar or like even before that.
They've done it with Naito before.
They have.
With the IC title, though. They had Jericho beat him for it.
That's true. Like I'm going back into the 90s, and I know they've had storylines where guys, I'm drawing a blank at the moment because it's almost midnight here, like, you know, or like when they had the famous feud with Muto and Takada, right? Like Invader's storylines are part of New Japan's heritage, and it's been a while since we've had something like that. I'm curious.